Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today is Thursday, November 22nd, 2018. In fact, today is Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for every one of you, but besides that point, we need to get into the 2020 presidential election prediction between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So today, I believe it was today or yesterday, Obama said that he would, essentially said he would defeat Trump for a third term. I remember I did a video on that about a year ago. Speculating that, and then it just all of a sudden turned into me reconsidering a Joe Biden versus Donald Trump prediction. I've done many of these. I mean, probably 20 predictions between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, consisting between election nights and election predictions. But overall, at the beginning of every month, leading up all the way until around July, when I completely cut off every discussion except for 2018, I guess, political discussions for the midterms, I was doing monthly Biden and Sanders predictions, which I'm going to start doing starting, I guess, December. Joe Biden, right now, probably one of those top names for the 2020 presidential election. And what's funny is there are a lot of names here. I mean, if we look at the Democratic list, it's off your screen. Whereas before, it was about halfway. And I was complaining before about there being a lack of some candidates who did say that they possibly were going to run. But Avenatti, probably not going to run. Bloomberg, maybe. There's a little speculation behind that one. Clinton, probably not, but there is a small possibility. Brown, no. Cuomo, probably not. Delaney probably will drop out before the primaries, even though he is announced, so I would say that's fine with him on the list. Gabbard, maybe, if Sanders doesn't run. Garcetti, no. Gillibrand, maybe. Harris, maybe. Hickenlooper, probably not. Klobuchar, probably not. McAuliffe, probably not. Murphy, probably not. Beto O'Rourke, probably not. Jada, I have no idea how to pronounce it. Probably not. I mean, just looking at this list, there's a number of candidates who are on here that may not be the number one best for the Democrats, nor maybe they have even a chance at the primary. But I guess these are just the top names that some people want to run for the 2020 presidential election. But whatever, I guess. But 218 electoral votes for Joe Biden and 149 for Donald Trump. So first of all, where are we getting these numbers from? So 270 to Win has provided us with a new toss-up / battleground map for the 2020 presidential election based off the 2018 midterm results. And one thing that really strikes out to you, as I mentioned in my video yesterday, my Beto O'Rourke versus Donald Trump video, which you can see on my channel if you want to watch that one instead or after this video, but right now, states like Texas, Arizona, and Georgia, presumably Republican states. They were Republican all the way going back for Georgia and Arizona back to, I believe, 1996 for Arizona and 1992 for Georgia. As for Texas, I believe it goes all the way back to 76, which was the last time that a Democrat won in the state of Texas for a presidential race. Was very close. All three of these states were close in the 2018 midterm elections, whereas Georgia, close in the governor's race. Texas and Arizona, not so close in the governor's race, but Arizona went to the Democrat for the first time since the 90s for a Democratic senator from the state of Arizona. And Texas almost going for a Democrat, but it had a very, very close Senate election between Ted Cruz, who was, of course, the one who ran for president, the, I guess, runner-up for the Republican nomination in the year 2016 against Hillary Clinton. He was possibly going to win by an even larger margin if he played his card right, but Beto O'Rourke did phenomenal in that state, so it was able to move the state into the toss-up column. But another thing that's pretty surprising, if you look, the state of Ohio and Iowa, those are two states that are pretty much toss-ups when it comes back to previous electoral history besides 2016. Unfortunately for the Democratic Party, Ohio and Iowa are two states now that have pretty much moved away from the Democrats. Yes, Ohio voted for a Democrat in the 2018 midterms, but it was by a narrower margin than the poll suggested, and he was a very popular incumbent who only won by single digits. Or if you look back at 2016, yes, there was a more uncontested Senate race, but it voted in favor of the GOP even more than they voted in favor of the Democrats. And for Iowa, no real hope for Democrats in terms of the governor or Senate race here. The governor's race just went to the Republican who won her very first election. Even though she was the incumbent, it was because the incumbent governor, I believe, went to be an ambassador for China, if I'm not mistaken, or another country. But Iowa remaining in the GOP column. Ohio, of course, going to remain in the GOP column based off the 2016 results because that's what the margin was. Trump almost won here by double digits in both of these states. Texas was a less margin for Trump than Iowa. Arizona and Georgia were less margins for Trump than Ohio and Iowa, even though Obama won both of these states, Iowa and Ohio, by pretty considerable margins compared to what Hillary Clinton did. And looking at the overall electoral map, That leaves 171 electoral votes. But keep in mind, Texas, Florida, these are two huge electoral prizes. And right now, if they even go to the GOP, that really makes up the margin. It brings it to around a tie just by filling in 2 states. And keep in mind, both of these states still remained in the Republican column at the end of 2018. Senate race, a Senate pickup for the GOP in Florida, a governor hold for the GOP in Florida, Texas, Senate hold, GOP hold in governor's race. So still having that Republican identity, just with 2 states themselves, could go in favor of the GOP and pretty much alter this map. But we're going to adjust a couple of these ratings. Like Virginia is probably going to be a likely state for the Democratic Party. Colorado is also probably going to be a likely state. Considering how underestimated Democrats are at this point in the state of Nevada, I would move that one into the likely column for someone like Joe Biden. And then looking at the rest of the map, I would keep Iowa and Ohio in the lean Republican column. And I probably would have gotten to this later on in the video if I had a completely blank map, but I'm starting to draw away from the blank map just so we get rid of that little filler time where I'm just filling in safe states and I can actually discuss content with you guys. And Ohio itself, I think Joe Biden could do very well here because of what Obama was able to do. Unfortunately, Joe Biden is not exactly Obama, and Ohio has gotten a lot more Republican since Obama's election in 2012, even though it's such a short period of time, 6 years, 8 years to the 2020 presidential election, I guess. That state has pretty much shifted more in favor of Donald Trump. He was able to take these voters that voted for Obama by +3 in 2012, and then all of a sudden turn them into +8 voters for Donald Trump. So that was a huge turnover. Joe Biden definitely could narrow down the margin outside of that likely column, outside of that +5% more column, but still, looking at the state itself, we're probably going to see Donald Trump narrowly win here, even though that may not be ideal for the Democratic Party. Again, Joe Biden, yes, he's a really good candidate, someone that they probably should run for 2020. He's probably not going to flip states like Ohio and Iowa at this point in time as it stands today on November 22nd, 2018. Again, a lot can change as the 2018 midterms predicted, but that leaves, again, 171 electoral votes. But we can actually start filling in some Rust Belt states. Pennsylvania, I think, could be a likely state for Joe Biden. Donald Trump has just lost a number of voters from these states, and keep in mind Joe Biden was born in Pennsylvania. He really can appeal to Pennsylvania voters very well. Obama was able to do it phenomenally. I think that Joe Biden can do it a little bit less than Obama, but still able to bring back those voters. Donald Trump, according to 2018 exit poll data, has lost so many voters across the Rust Belt states, and it's not good, considering that he won all 3 of these states by less than 1%. I believe, actually, Wisconsin, yes, less than 1%. So when you look at these 3 Rust Belt states, any little turnover of voters, regardless of how small it is, will impact Donald Trump's re-election campaign, considering that he will need to hold on to all of these voters if he wants to win in the election. Because keep in mind, if Michigan, Wisconsin, and the rest of the states that voted respectively for, even if other states don't, just looking at the Rust Belt, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, if those go to the Democrats, considering they win almost every other state that they won in 2016, they win the election. So that's why these states are very crucial for the Trump re-election campaign, because this is the only way that Donald Trump can truly win. He can win in Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, New Hampshire, Maine 2nd District, Nebraska 2nd District, and if he just loses the Rust Belt, he loses the election. So keep that in mind. This is the key area for Trump, because he can sweep every other toss-up besides the ones that Clinton won in 2016. And let's say, even if he does win in a state like Colorado, which is not likely, it's not a blowout for him either. He wins by less than what he won in 2016, and only 2 other presidents have won their re-election bids by less, Barack Obama and Woodrow Wilson. So again, that would not be a good look for Trump, considering that much of his overall, I guess, personality comes from his large wins, quote-unquote large wins in certain states. But completely clearing off the map, bringing us back to the toss-up area, I can actually keep some of these filled in. So right now, Georgia, Texas, and Arizona, these are states that probably are going to go in favor of Donald Trump. Yes, they were closer in 2018, but this doesn't necessarily go into these are going to be Democratic states in 2020. We're looking at states that have had Republican identity for a very long time, and there's no reason why Donald Trump wouldn't be able to just hold on to that narrow majority of voters. Yes, Arizona went to the Democrat in the 2018 midterm Senate election, but unfortunately for them, Republicans probably will be a little bit more inspired to win a presidential election than one particular Senate race, which may or may not affect the overall national scheme. Yes, the Senate composition was close, so yes, a lot was riding on these individual Senate races, but one state, 1% of the Senate, one out of those 100 seats is not going to make as much of an impact as a race that comes down to 264 to 274, where 11 electoral votes could make all the difference for either candidate. So Arizona will definitely be focused on a little bit more heavier by Donald Trump, Georgia as well, Texas as well. These states may flip in the future. 2020 just may not be that time for someone like Joe Biden. North Carolina also did not go to Barack Obama back in 2012. It narrowly went in 2008, and the time before that was 76. So North Carolina, again, holding on to its Republican identity. You can really expect the Democratic Party to do better there than 2016, but still remaining in the Republican column regardless. But for the Rust Belt, I'm going to land this in the Joe Biden column. Wisconsin and Michigan, I'm going to move these into the, lean column along with Minnesota. Pennsylvania being the largest lead for Joe Biden, considering he's from the state, and he really did help Obama here. But again, not taking anything away from Obama, not giving anything to McCain. I just think that Joe Biden would be better able to appeal to, Rust Belt voters than other type of Democrats, and I think Pennsylvania probably would be his strongest out of the three, considering that Hillary Clinton narrowly won in Minnesota, narrowly lost in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. They still have possibilities of going to the Democrats. I think Pennsylvania could be the largest swing just because it's Joe Biden. But not necessarily doing the same thing for other Democrats. And for Florida, for right now, I'm going to put that one in the pure toss-up column. I've been reading your comments, and yes, 1.5 million new voters added to the voter rolls because felons can now vote in the state of Florida. And I'm not going to speak my personal opinion on that, but that was something that would be considered probably a big win for the Democratic Party. That adds a whole lot of new voters, depending on who's been locked up in the state of Florida. I don't know exactly the, composition of inmates, but, many Democratic operatives have been bringing up this point a lot, looking at the state of Florida. After their narrow defeats by 0.2% in the Senate race and 0.4% in the governor race, a lot of these Democratic operatives on the mainstream media have been bringing up this point. I'm going to do a little bit more research about Florida itself and also other states like Georgia with voter suppression, things that could be going on, probably are going on, if we're being completely honest there. Texas and Arizona with changing demographics. I'm going to keep analyzing these states individually just to see exactly where these newer voters are coming from, just to see how it could impact the 2020 presidential election, especially with millions of new voters when elections are decided by thousands of votes. So keep that in mind when factoring in all these states. But right now, Florida, I would still keep in that pure toss-up column because, again, I'm not going to move that one into the Democratic column after they just lost a Senate race, a governor race, and a presidential race in 2016. So 274 electoral votes for Joe Biden, 235 for Donald Trump, 29 key electoral votes from the state of Florida, too close to call. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.